Hi guys, this is Ganesh Naik. Thank you very much for joining us. And today I'm back with one of my students interview. He's been able to clear FRM level 1 in his first attempt and with a huge amount of experience in the industry. And we are going to be talking about his journey and how he was able to clear the exam, what has been challenges that he is facing, and also what has been his strategy to clear the exam. Okay, and with this, we're going to be starting out with the interview. So please welcome Rahul Dixit. First of all, Rahul, thank you very much for joining in and taking out time. It's very early in the morning, and I know you have office, so
Sure, sir.
you thought of doing it very early the session. So
Yeah,
thank you very
yeah.
much.
Thank you, sir, for having me here. It's my pleasure
Uh,
to do this.
and before we start the conversation, okay, what
Mhm.
just for the benefit of the audience, when you decided to go for FRM, what was
Mhm.
your status? I mean, in terms of your work experience, and also give a brief about your education background.
Sure, sir. So, by qualification, I am a electronics engineer, and I
Mhm.
have around more than 15 years of experience in IT industry. I have been working as a software developer, a technical consultant all my life, and currently I'm working with a product company which has a capital markets treasury product. And
Okay.
so basically, my profile is technical, but we have some functional aspect to it, and a lot of it is around banking, treasury, and those aspects. So yeah, that's what my work
So
is
that
all
led
about.
to you reading FRM or doing FRM because you'll get some functional
Yes.
knowledge also.
Yeah, that's right. So I have a technical knowledge of what the product is doing, but I was not really understanding that what it is doing and why it is doing. I can only see the what I can say. I can only see the software code, but I don't
Okay.
really understand why that is done in some particular way. So I was kind of thinking I should go ahead and study this, and also
Okay.
from understanding the business aspects, it's very good to know FRM. I mean, do some certification which has a proper, what I could say, proper study for that. So
Okay.
a lot of my friends in my office who are functional consultants, they have done their FRM. So I had
Okay.
spoken to them about it, and I decided that I should go ahead with FRM myself.
Now, when you first decided on the FRM,
Mhm.
must have got the books and all. You must have started. What
Right.
happened
Right.
after that?
Yeah. So I think somewhere early in the June last year, I actually ordered for the Square notes, and I started reading book one. I mean, I just thought that I should go in the order book one, two, three, four. So I
Hmm.
started reading book one. I read, I think, the three chapters from book one, and I didn't really grasp it. So I thought
Okay.
I'll try with the next book, and I went for book two. I tried another couple of chapters, and after doing this maybe 5 to 7 chapters, I kind of lost confidence that I can do it myself, and I kind of gave up a thought of going ahead with it, and
Okay.
I actually completely dropped it that time. And I think somewhere around mid of September or late September, I got in touch with you. We had a discussion about this. I think we had a very long call, almost 45 minutes, 1 hour, and you kind of boosted my confidence that I can actually go ahead with this. I can do this, and that's when I actually thought that okay, I should give it a try, and I enrolled into your live video lectures, and yeah, I mean, unfortunately, immediately after that, me and my family were infected with COVID. So I was kind of not able to focus on studies. So I think I started somewhere in first week of November. That's the same time when the
Okay.
video lectures actually started, the live video session started.
Live sessions
So
have
I didn't
started.
get,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't get chance to do first reading of few chapters before that, but yeah, I started almost along with the live sessions.
Okay. Okay. And primarily, when you started, what was the time dedication that you were putting from November onwards?
So initially, I was putting not more than 2 hours, around one and a half, or I mean, depending on what is the chapter length. I just had thought that I will do one chapter daily, and I used to follow that Monday to Friday, and then weekends we used to have the lectures in the evenings. So every day, Monday to Friday, I used to read at least one chapter. That I did almost till I think mid of January, and then I mean we used to have this monthly catch ups with you. So in month of January when I had that catch up, you just told me that it was like a high time to start solving as well. I think I had
Mhm.
completed somewhere around 25, 26 chapters that time, just first reading of 25, 26 chapters and zero solvings. So you gave me a target of finishing another 10 solvings and 15 readings by end of Jan. I mean, to be honest, I was never able to catch up with the targets you gave, but it at least had me a goal that I should try to hit that target. If not that much, if I am one or two chapters less, that's okay. I mean, I could make up to that in the due course of time. But yeah, that's how I started my
Okay,
preparation.
okay. But the purpose of the goal that I generally set is to keep it slightly higher itself,
Right.
so that I know it is not possible with job every single thing to do, but at least you have some motivation to go towards it. And also, when you said you have completed 25 chapter, and also you are watching the video and reading the textbook beforehand, and also side by side you are attending the lectures. That was happening by
Yeah.
default.
Yeah, so I wasn't watching all the videos. I was
Mm.
reading the textbook.
Okay.
Very few recorded videos I actually watched because, I mean, wherever I used to find it very difficult to understand from reading. So I think the most important aspect on this was the order of study that you gave us. That helped me a lot because when I initially started, I just started with book one. I thought I'll read through book one, then book two, and that wasn't really helping. I mean, the
Mm.
connectivity between the chapters, that is something that was given by the order of study that you gave us. So I think because the order was such that I was able to link up between the previous chapter and what I'm learning now. It
Right.
became a continuous learning cycle. It wasn't disconnected that I read some chapter, then I had a disconnection, and I read something completely different. That didn't happen. So I think that order of study also mattered a lot, and because of that I was able to understand a lot of things, and I used to highlight the points that I didn't understand in my reading, and
Okay.
I used to make sure that I get those clarified on the live sessions if that's not already covered, or I don't understand after the live session. I used to make sure that I'll ask those questions and get that clarified. And
Right.
maybe I just probably had a look at 10 10 recorded sessions, not more than that.
Okay. Okay. And
Because
primarily,
yeah,
so
the mm, mm.
yeah, yeah, please.
I mean, the sessions were also almost similar to what we used to do the live classes, right? So it used to be like 2 hours, 3 hours. So I didn't really used to get time initially.
Okay.
So it was becoming difficult to go through the session and then read the book. So I just thought I'll start reading the book. If I face any difficulty in that, I'll go back to the sessions and have a look at that. Otherwise, I'll get it clarified in the live session itself.
Okay. Okay. And primarily, so by when you completed your entire reading of the content, one reading of the content.
It was pretty late in March. I would say somewhere after 20th of March, between 20th
Okay.
and 25th of March. But parallelly, I had already started solving section-wise, sorry, the book-wise,
Chapter wise question.
chapter-wise test. So I had also completed more than 30 chapter-wise tests by mid-March,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I completed all chapter-wise tests by end of April, around 25th April, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the time dedication was still 1.5 hour, or it increased or
And
decreased?
no, I increased it gradually. So I think in the beginning of February, I
Mm-hmm.
actually again our call happened and you told me what should be the targets, and I think it was again around 15th of Feb. So I think that time you actually told me that I should try and focus to finish more than 35 solvings by end of Feb because I was only done by around 12 solvings by that time. So you asked me to finish at least 35 solvings and try to finish off first reading of at least 50 to 53 chapters. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I somehow I managed to finish almost 30 solvings by end of Feb. And reading was on the lesser side that time. I finished only around 40, 42 chapters of reading, but yeah, and then I actually around that time itself I kind of wrote down a timetable that I need to increase my study hours on that, and I started putting in more than 2.5 3 hours from Feb, and gradually from mid March I was almost putting in 4.5 hours. So I mean thankfully my work hours had changed by then, and I was able to stop my work around 7 p.m. in the evening, 7:30 p.m. in the evening. So I used to take around half an hour,
Hmm.
1 hour break after that, and I
Okay.
used to do 1 hour of reading or studying or revision before dinner, and then I used to sit up to around 2 in the midnight to do the further studies. So yeah, I used to follow
Wow.
that kind of a cycle. That around 10:30 to 2, I used to have um, 3.5 hours of continuous study, no interruptions in that.
Okay, wonderful. And just to make it very clear for the audience, so you
Mm,
had already read certain chapters, and then
right,
simultaneously you were reading new chapters and
right.
revising the old and solving, right?
Yes, yes. So
And solving
what I
primarily through
also
our question bank, the chapter-wise question bank.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I did not even look at any other question banks. I just had a look at one Swagger mock paper and one GAP mock paper. I did not solve them completely. I just had a look at that after doing all the four mock tests from your side.
Okay,
And
okay,
yeah, so I actually in the Feb month, I also started, sorry, in the month of Jan, when we had a catch up call, I also started making my notes along with reading. I mean,
okay.
when I was doing the second reading, I also started making notes that I used to uh, highlight main points that you had mentioned, then the examples that you actually covered in the live lectures. It was very easy for me to relate to those and understand the concepts. So I actually made my notes where I put down those examples so that my second reading or my third reading will be quicker. And so I did not go through the entire Swagger book third time. I only went through main important chapters, and a lot of
Hmm.
things I actually went through only my notes because that's where the concepts got clarified. Whatever you explained in the live lectures, on those lines, I actually prepared my notes. So that was
Okay.
also a lot of help. Yeah.
So when so you said by the end of April you were done with all the chapter-wise solving and the reading properly. That was completed.
Yeah, almost, yeah. Reading, I think only couple of chapters were raised. Stress testing, I think, was remaining, but rest of the chapters I had completed. And
Okay.
chapter-wise test, I think I had completed around 55 or chapter-wise test.
Hmm.
Maybe I had 4 5 tests pending that I did in first week of May. So I had taken leave from my work from first week of May. I had scheduled my exam on 14th, so I had
Okay.
taken that 2 weeks of leave, and I kind of focused on finishing off the pending chapter-wise test in first week of May, and
Okay.
then I did the mock test
Mock
papers.
papers.
Yeah.
And you solved how many mock papers? You said you just looked at Swagger and the GARP one. Did you solve my mock papers by any chance?
Yes, yes, I solved all four of your mock papers. I did not solve anything apart from that. I just quickly went through the Schwezer and GAP mock papers. But
Okay.
I solved all four of the mock papers from your side.
Okay. Got it. Now, with respect to the uh, score that you got in the mock papers, what was the average score you were getting?
I would say average. First, I think first mock paper I got 62. Second one I got 57. Third, I think 65 or something, and fourth one 72. So
Okay.
yeah, around
Wow.
65 or I was getting.
Okay. On an average, 65. Now, when you went for the exam on the
Mhm.
day, what happened in that first hour when you started solving the first hour?
Yeah. So the location where I was, I had selected the location that had around 15 odd candidates in the same time slot, and I started off my session. I mean, they actually called out our names and assigned us the seats. So I was almost one of the last persons to get in the room and start solving. That also made me a bit nervous. But yeah, I mean, the first hour, I did not really, what I could say, I was not able to catch up on 25 questions. I thought I'll try to do a bit more than 25, and that's what I was doing in the mock test that I tried beforehand. So I think in first hour I was only able to do only 20 questions, but I got a lot of solvings in that, and I was pretty confident that those questions I had solved properly. Those were lengthy questions. I got one bond valuation, one cross currency swap valuation for a 2 year swap valuation with semi-annually payment. So it was
Oh,
lengthy, but I knew that it's easy one. I mean, I know how to solve it. I was pretty confident I will make it. So I spent more time on that, but I solved it. And then similar type of thing kept on happening every hour, because I would say I almost got 45 odd calculations, and rest of it was theory. So I would say mine was not a
oh,
very heavy theory question paper, but yeah, a lot of calculations were what I would say lengthy but easy. So it wasn't such that very complex calculations. Yeah, there were a fair, I would say 15-20 questions were kind of complex in calculations, but more than half of the questions were easy but lengthy. So I also
mm,
made mistakes in few of those. Like at the in probably in the third hour, I had kind of panicked a bit because I wasn't
okay.
able to catch up. There were a lot of questions pending. So I remember that when I saw I started question number 71, uh, the timer showed something above 43 minutes, which was like
Wow, 43 minutes left.
yeah. So that
Oh,
was like alarming. But thankfully, the last 30 questions were kind of I would say quick solving ones. A lot of calculations that were easy, or I would say just formula replacements were part of that. And I would say it was half and half, like 50% of calculations, 50% of theory in the last 15 questions. And that's where I was able to quickly go through them, finish it off. And I, I I would say I did not solve one question. That was, I think, 98 or 99th question, because it was a very lengthy one and there was
mm,
very little time left. So I just thought I'll leave that question, and I had marked around 3-4 questions which I want to revisit, and I
okay.
only had around 10 minutes in hand. So I just thought I'll leave that one question out, and I should rather focus on those 4-5 questions that I had marked for review. And did that and just took a calculated guess on that one question.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Now, with respect to the when you came out of the exam, okay, what was the idea that you had in your mind that this much I will score?
Uh, Honestly, I was very scared. I mean, because a lot of questions were uh, the theory questions also were pretty lengthy. I mean, the way they had formulated the questions and answers, it was very confusing. So I was of the opinion that I'm not going to make it more than 40-45 marks. So the first thought was, okay, I'm not going to clear it. I came home and I immediately dropped you a message. You were out that time, so you called me maybe after 20-25 minutes, and I spoke to you about all this. And my first thought was, okay, I should probably start restudying on some of the things, and I was pretty confident I won't clear it that time. But as I gave it a thought later on, I thought that I should get at least more than 55-60, because a lot of questions that I did towards the end, I was pretty confident that a lot of it was correct.
Mm,
Few of the solvings that I did, I was sure that those were correct in the very first part of the exam. A few of
mm,
the questions in the middle, I was not very sure. I got almost 5 to 6 probability related questions, and I wasn't really confident that I actually solved them correctly. So uh,
Okay.
the the
Okay.
the instant opinion was I won't clear it. I would not get more than 40-42 in my exam. But yeah, over a period of time, when I actually gave it a thought, after a couple of days, I sat down and gave it a thought. I was somewhere, I was feeling, yeah, I could clear it. I should be somewhere in the range of 60, yeah, around 60 plus minus 5.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And then what were the quartiles that you got? What are the results?
I got book one, I got two, book two, I got one, book three, I got two, and book four, I got three.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
two,
So
two,
the
one, two,
quartiles were
three.
not bad, frankly speaking.
Yeah, yeah.
So now what has been the reaction of people around you? Your family, your friends, office people?
Yeah, family, I mean, they were very happy because they had seen me doing all the hard work, sitting back late nights, trying to study. And for me, it was a very, very long gap from my last study. I had studied a bit for some technical certifications towards at the beginning of my career. So at least I would say I had not done a proper study for anything in last 12 odd years. So it was a very big
Okay.
gap after when I actually picked up books and I started studying like this. So it was a very difficult part for me at the start. Then once I got into the groove, it became very easy. And yeah, so my family was very happy. A lot of my colleagues and friends never expected that I would actually go for FRM because I've been working on a technical side
Hmm.
throughout my career, and I'm not a finance professional as such. So they were also very happy. A lot of guys have actually the functional team in my office and my previous offices and friends. They actually got in touch with me. They asked for how I went about the studies, and even they are planning to go for FRM now. So yeah, the perspective of the individual change around you when you do something like this. They actually come to know that okay, you also understand business along with
Yes.
technology. That's a kind of a very important thing in the industry where I'm working, that people should kind of recognize that you also understand uh, the business aspects, not just the technical aspects, and
Technical
I
side.
can actually contribute to their work as well. So that's something that has helped me a lot.
Wow. Wow. Wonderful. Because I think that is a trend now. People or organizations now want techno-functional
Exactly.
roles
Yeah.
where people
Yeah.
understand technology also and the business also. Right.
Yes. Yes.
Now, if somebody asks you what are the top three tips to clear the FRM exam, what would be that?
I would say start learning with you. But on a serious note, I would say first one I would say is you need to make a dedicated time and a
Hmm.
timetable to study, because you need to focus on what needs to be done, when it should be done, and how you want to go about it. So I would say time and a
Hmm.
timetable to study with the probably the order that you have given. That helped a lot. That was first. Second, I would say try as many mock papers as you can, because that did both things to me. It kind of gave the actual flavor of what kind of questions come in the exam. Along
Hmm.
with that, it also kind of boosted my confidence that I can do that, I can solve it. Because when I was doing chapter wise test, I wasn't confident on whether I will be able to go through the entire paper at one go, because I used to revise one chapter today and I used to give the mock test on that chapter the following day. So it was more like a fresh revision of a chapter and do uh, the solving.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the entire book, I won't be able to actually revise all the chapters one day before the exam. So I need to have a strategy for that, right? So uh, solving mocks, I kind of tried to work around my strategies on that. And
Okay.
I was able to gain some confidence that okay, I can attempt for the entire paper without actually revising the whole book one night before. And third thing I would say, the calculation, I mean the formulas, that's very important. Because I used to go through I had taken the printout of the formula sheet, and I used to go through that every day probably from end of April. So almost 15-20 days. I used to go through all those formulas daily, once a day, whenever I used to get chance, because a lot of concepts are also, I mean, the way you have explained those concepts, we are also able to derive the concept from the formula also. So then you don't really need to revise those concepts. If you know the formula, you can relate back the concepts the way you had
Right.
explained it. So a lot of revision part gets reduced if I know the formula. Only the theoretical parts is something that I had to revise just before the exam, and I used to focus on the formula and solving. So I mean,
Okay.
solving was also one of the very key aspect, I would say.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful, Rahul. And this was a very, very great interview. I mean, in the sense that a lot of people, few important things, like for example,
Mhm.
even after 15 years of experience, you can clear the exam in first attempt. That is one point. Second, even if you have job challenges, you need some amount of dedication, like you sitting slightly late to prepare for
Yes.
the exam, go for the exam. Start out early, okay, get that
Correct.
time, make yourself comfortable with the content. So I think all of these things are going to be helpful for the new people who are planning for the exam, appearing for the exam, and they'll definitely, it will motivate them to go for it. So thank you, Rahul. Thank you taking out time and sharing your journey, sharing your experience with the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me here. It was my pleasure doing all this. Thank you so much.